What's going on, everybody? This is Double Axis podcast number 21. We're joined with a vast ensemble of people that apparently didn't know they were going to be on a podcast today. I guess it's a podcast slash an episode of Pump. So I figured the best way would just be go around the table, let everybody introduce themselves, tell us where you're from, tell us what you do now, what kind of led you to that, and anything else that you feel important. So start with Chris,
awesome.
Hey. Yankees fan.
Hey, what's up? Yes, I'm a Yankees fan. I'm Chris McFarland. I live in New York, home of the Yankees. And I'm an actor in the film, and I got involved with my friend James, who directed here. And he brought me along to take a little road trip to Kentucky to make a movie. So it's been a great experience.
How long have you been acting?
I've been acting 15 years now, about. And professionally for 8. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I assume that you went to school and did the whole.
Yeah, I went to school in New York in the city for musical theater. Study musicals is what I wanted to do when I first got out there. But then, the more time I've spent, the more I've been drawn towards film and television and just storytelling in any medium possible.
Sweet. Were you born and raised in New York City? Or?
Oh no, I was born in North Jersey, and so not far from the city. So my early childhood was in North Jersey, and I spent a lot of time coming in and out of the city. And then I moved to Pennsylvania for junior high school. So I did that small town farm life for a little bit, and then as soon as I could choose where to go, it was right back to the city. So
sweet. You probably never imagined that you'd be in rural Kentucky shooting a movie, huh?
No, man, I've never been to Kentucky in my life.
Sweet.
This has been I had no idea what to expect.
Yeah.
And everyone has just been so nice and awesome. It's such a great place.
Everywhere I go, I've been quite a few places, other countries and stuff like that. I tell them where I'm from, and they're like, "Oh, well, you don't have an accent." And my response is, "Yeah, and I wear shoes too. It's crazy." Exactly. So a lot of people don't know what to expect, but yeah, it's a pretty good place to live. So
yeah,
don't have any complaints. What's your role in the movie?
So I play the manager of the restaurant where our main character works at, played by our wonderful.
And if everyone out there could see him, you'd understand that it's really amazing that he plays the manager of the restaurant.
Because I look great. I'm the best looking manager you've ever seen.
It's the stash.
It was a goatee.
It was a goatee at one point.
We chopped half of it off.
And then we took some off. And then I'm probably going to take the rest off as soon as I go home from this.
The
podcast I didn't know that I was doing. But yeah, so I manage the restaurant that our main character Matt works at, along with a couple other characters in the show. And I kind of play a bit of a comic relief-ish, I kind of bring a lightness to it. And he's just a guy that manages a weird restaurant in Kentucky and doesn't necessarily care about it.
So waiting meets Kentucky, basically, is what you're saying.
Exactly, it's exactly
Okay.
that. And, yeah.
Did you all shoot that part in Kentucky?
Yeah, we shot it at the
restaurant?
Red Light Kitchen and Lounge in Lexington.
Oh, okay. Have you ever been there?
No.
You know a lot of the restaurants and stuff. I didn't know. David,
It's real good.
is it real good?
Yeah, it's really good.
I know a lot of the White Castles.
Right.
I can draw you a map of where all of those are located.
So, Chris from New York.
The better Chris, yeah.
The better Chris.
Of course.
Already throwing shade. It's like 5
It's
minutes in.
He's upset because he
It's
was Chris 2
We
on
have to
set and I was
distinguish
Chris
between the
1.
two of us, and it's just
I think they'll be able to distinguish.
Is that what your all's chairs say?
What's up?
Is that what your all's chairs say? Chris 1 and Chris 2?
Yeah,
You
totally.
See, like the production chair.
Oh, yeah.
Chris Minor, Chris
There you
Major.
go.
It's a thing.
And what's your role in the movie?
I'm a costume designer.
Cool. And how long have you been doing that?
About 6 years?
6 years.
Yeah.
So
Less than 15. But
less than
Sorry,
15.
Got a head start.
So he is Chris Major, is what you're saying.
do you think so?
Are you from New York City?
I'm from Boston originally.
Boston, oh,
Born and
very cool.
raised.
Very cool.
Went to school in Western Massachusetts and then moved to the city like 2-ish years ago. Slept on Jay's couch for a bit.
6 months.
Then I finally got an apartment.
Is that 6 months?
It was a long time.
Couch
a long
I was like, I'm not moving.
I don't
No,
blame
get
you.
me.
Like, this
with the
couch is
rent up
comfy.
there.
It's
I was like-
broken in already. Why would I leave?
It's so comfy.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
So is that A Chris Minor hole.
Correct.
So is that what you went to school for too?
Yeah. Well, I started out as an actor, but
What? Really?
Wow.
Oh, what I would
yeah,
give to see
I was
that.
an actor in high school, and my first week of college as an actor, I found out that you could study costume design, and I was like, bye. I was like, I can't do this. I gotta change.
So
Because I've always been interested in like fashion and clothing and design and stuff like that, so it was kind of a no-brainer.
awesome. And you know, as far as applying that for the last 6 years, has it always been like towards movie stuff or towards television?
No, I started in theater and then did that for a while, and then dabbled like whenever somebody like an assistant or a PA or something like that, I would do movies here and there. And then recently I've been doing a lot of drag design, so for drag queens I would make them outfits and stuff like that. But now I'm kind of gearing back towards theater and movies.
What you think that's your passion? Is that where you found your niche, or
I think so.
not sure yet?
Hope
No,
so.
it is. Yeah, I mean, I can't see myself doing anything else really, so
Sweet.
yeah.
Awesome. So are you the lead actress?
Supporting.
Supporting? Okay.
She's the lead.
She's the lead.
Yeah.
One. There's a couple leads,
There's 3 leads. She's
of
one
which
of
she
them.
is one.
Chris isn't one.
I
Let's
was
just
certainly
establish
not a
that.
lead. I was as supporting as it
Yes.
Yeah, supporting is a
couldn't
good-
handle like
that's
a whole film of this goatee, so just behind the scenes.
So if you started with a stash, you'd have been good though, right?
Probably.
Yeah,
Did it
We would
wrong.
have bumped him up.
So, lead actress, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Tana. I'm living in New York, but from Portsmouth, New Hampshire originally.
How long you been acting?
24 years.
Wow, impressive. Child actress?
I guess so, yeah.
Either that or you're really old.
Yeah.
Like Benjamin Button.
Great skin.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's been a while.
Sweet. Have movies always been the main thing, or
No.
just different stuff?
No, not at all. I'm a theater actor. This is just the second film I've done.
Which one do you like better?
I mean, I can't.
Can't pick.
No, I mean, I've been doing theater for so
So
long,
long.
you know, it's like in my blood, and this is a totally new medium, but this experience was fantastic.
Great.
I wish that we had another 6 months of filming,
Yeah.
and I wish it wasn't over, so.
So you guys are officially wrapped then?
Yeah.
We
4
finished
Wrapped as
days.
of yesterday.
4
It's quick.
days.
4 days? That's awesome.
Yeah.
You're like Sylvester Stallone. over there.
Yeah.
Just in and out. Don't
Um,
work too hard.
what'd you
I
say?
said don't work too hard for too long.
Oh, yeah.
4 days.
I understand that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's good to be efficient for sure.
Most days are 12 hours. Our Sunday was about 18 hours.
Angela did like every day was different. Like the past week, like
Yeah.
I don't know how it's possible.
Yeah, I forgot that he
Weather-
said that he's like
weather's
be
changed so
snowing
much,
one
so
day.
it's
and-
just-
We got
Great.
sunburnt the first day.
Yeah.
It was really great.
And we got frostbite the last day.
Yeah. And it was snowing.
Did that fit into the storyline at all? Or
No.
well, wait.
Totally
If anybody
different
knows
plan.
Kentucky, that's
Yeah.
what we always joke about.
Right,
you
the
know,
weather
it's-
changes so rapidly.
Yeah, right.
It kind of messed us up because Friday was so beautiful and we did most of our exteriors. And then when we got to the restaurant, we was filming the restaurant yesterday. We had one exterior shot that was snowing. All day we were waiting, so we moved the whole schedule around to accommodate for the weather. And by the end of the day, we just said nope. And this brilliant man found us a new location, basically in the restaurant that we hadn't thought of before, in the manager's office, that we thought was kind of a little off limits. And we went in there, and our director of photography got this incredible shot. So kind of like our other producer was saying, we threw a Hail Mary at the end of the day, made it work.
Yep.
So stepping back to you for a second, have you always acted in New York, or is it New York kind of a new thing for you?
I moved to New York 5 years ago, but I did a lot of work in Portsmouth that has a really great theater community. It's
Okay.
a little town in New Hampshire. So I grew up working there, and then I went to university in Liverpool, England,
Oh wow, impressive.
and then moved to London after that. So I was over there for a little over 5 years.
Did you do theater over there as well?
Yeah.
How was that compared to New Jersey?
It was great. I mean, my school was awesome. I met my company partner there, and we've been producing work together for the last 9 years. And we really got a chance to do some really cool work that was really out there, like producing shows in a bombed out church outside and in nightclubs. And It's really exciting stuff. And then when I moved to London, I was working with an agency, which was new and exciting and different. But in New York, I've really been producing my own stuff mostly and doing like off-Broadway stuff. So all three places have been really different, but brought really good things. And
I'm ashamed to say that I've never been to New York.
really?
Yes.
You should come down, up.
I've ever since, obviously 9/11 was a big factor of all of our lives, but I've always wanted to go to the Freedom Tower and kind of experience that more so than
Unbelievable. It's all built now.
Yeah,
The
it's all
museum and
done.
everything is all done. The new tower's done. It's really an amazing.
Even the Fulton Center that's there, when you get off on the subway, it's
Yeah,
like
it's
an
amazing.
architectural marvel.
It's unbelievable
That's-
down there now.
now that
It's really
you-
beautiful.
I mean, you understand, but now that you've seen our town, big cities, I've been to LA and a lot of big cities, but not a big city guy, and so it's kind of hard for me to overcome that and try to understand all the madness of New York and trying to fit everything in. But I definitely want to go see the Freedom Tower sooner rather than later.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So, well, do you want to introduce yourself, brilliant man, as Joe called you?
Yeah, just call me Brilliance.
Okay.
That'll be work.
I call you Brill for short.
Brills. Call me Brills. My name is James. I directed this film. I'm from Richmond, Virginia, originally. Actually, about 30 minutes outside. Grew up on 25 acres of land, and
Sweet.
so coming back to a place like this is kind of home
Nostalgic.
for me. Not even nostalgic. It's comfortable. New York, being there. I live in New Jersey because I got 2 kids and a wife, and it's just easier with a yard. But I
Just go out
Go
there.
out
Go
back, man.
outside.
I'm tired of you. So you go. I hope they're listening. But it's very fast. People have things to do. People have many obligations up there,
Right.
and it's always a wonderful reset button to go home. And it's always important for me, for my kids, to experience what a slower paced life is like. There's a part of me, a small part of me, that feels weird raising kids up there.
Yeah, I understand
Because when I was growing up, I just always imagined raising kids in Virginia. But it's also why I love directing. It's because I feel like I've experienced a lot of life in a lot of places. And so being able to come down here, work with local crew, work with local actors, they're my people, But so are these people who are
Right.
sitting at the table. So I'm just really blessed for the opportunity.
that. Yeah, I would say that being in your position, it's really important to be adaptable to all different circumstances and
Yeah.
kind of flowing with different things. There's a lot of science behind what you're saying, though. I'm obviously having a podcast, big fan of Joe Rogan, and he talks about that they've done studies to show that, like in urban environments, that people walk faster, that they do things faster, and then you come here, like you said, it's a reset to people talking slower, walking slower, doing everything slower. So it's really interesting that you pointed that out. How long have you been directing?
That's kind of a loaded question.
That's what we're here for, buddy.
Right? Thanks. I started doing local theater in Richmond 10 or 11 years ago before I moved up. That's a longer story, won't get told here. But I moved up to New York around 8.5 years ago or so. And I had directed 2 plays in Richmond before coming up. But I also knew that I wanted to pursue acting. So when I came up, I really kind of jumped headfirst into acting and was like, well, I'll direct one day. So in all honesty, this is really only the second film I've directed. And so that said, I've directed a couple of plays since being up here, but as far as film is concerned, this is pretty new to me.
So After directing the 2 plays in Virginia, moving to New York, you were acting between that though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So were you doing like plays as well, or?
I got really lucky. My first gig in New York was kind of a dream gig for any actor. I didn't really have any lines, but still, I did Shakespeare in the Park my first summer here or there, and that kind of introduced me to the world of theater. I've done 2 off-Broadway plays, but other than that, I haven't had a lot of theater experience. I've been on Gotham and Bull and Orange is the New Black and Mr. Robot and
Impressive.
there's a list. But
On
yeah,
IMDb, which you need to check out.
yeah, James P. Reeves
Yeah.
on IMDb. Check it out. It's special. You'll see all 10 credits on
All the
there.
brilliance.
But yeah, as a TV guy, for those of you who can't see me, I'm short and I'm
Oh,
squatty.
it's all
and
going
I'm
to be on
hairy.
video, buddy.
Oh, it is? Perfect. So yeah, I'm
you
short
on
and I'm
recording?
squatty and I'm hairy,
No, oh, we'll put it on next week.
which means that I get to go in for plumbers and gamblers and one-liners on TV shows like that. So while the resume looks good, it's been like a day of work.
What's your
on the
favorite
show
one?
that I ever did?
Yeah.
I don't know. I had a good day when I shot on Sneaky Pete. It's an Amazon show.
Yeah, I know.
But that was because the day ran really long and I made $2,000. My best shoot day was probably for Orange is the New Black.
What was your role in that?
I was a friend of the warden. He was like kind of on a date with her, and I showed up and I was really obnoxious. And then I got zapped in the balls with a laser gun. That was really fun. So it was pretty great. It was pretty great. I got to just act stupid and fall over.
It's easy to see what's your favorite.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
So now that you've done your 2 movies, is that where you're gonna head this way, or are you gonna go back to plays, or?
I'm somebody that I think what I just did for the last 4 days directing this film is what I hope to do primarily, because it's the type of job that's about cohesion. I love different people. I love different personalities. I love going to a location and meeting local people and getting to know them, getting to know their world while maintaining a relationship with the people who came with me
Right.
and who were around me. It's the bread and butter of what I do, and what happens on set is more like a family than anything in art. It's 25 people living in a house or 2 houses together, going to set together, sleeping, eating, doing everything together as a group. And it's just weird. I mean, it's 25 people who hang out for 14 hours a day for as long as the thing takes to
Right.
get done. And when you're in charge of that, if you don't have a grasp on morale and you don't have a grasp on how to talk to each individual person and meet their needs, the ship will sink.
Right.
So it's a challenge that I love. I love the challenge. It gets tricky sometimes and it gets stressful sometimes, but at the end of the day, my biggest priority is making sure everybody's happy, making sure everybody's good. And you know, like you mentioned Baylor, and what's funny is like he's included in that.
Yeah.
If he's going to be willing to let us use his house, then I need to make sure he's happy too.
Right.
And to me, like Jay will tell you, that was a priority for me. I met him, I talked to him, and when I was at his house and scouting it out and figuring out what we're gonna do, like other people are milling around the house, and Baylor's sitting here with his 1-year-old, and I sat down with him and I was like, "What's up?"
He's probably sitting there with his 1-year-old with his bathrobe on that he's had since 1984.
He had a T-shirt. He was wearing a T-shirt. He was presentable. It was good.
Yeah. Oh, we make jokes all the time because every time he grew up with Parker, the younger brother. I grew up with Baylor. I'll go to his house and I'd be like, "Dude, I'm starving." He'd be like, "Oh, okay, I'll get you some food." And he would go into the kitchen and he would get Doritos and put them on a plate and then sprinkle cheese on top of them and put it in the microwave and hand them to me. And I'm like, "What is this?" He's like,
Doritos nachos.
"These are the Shahan nachos." I'm like, "Okay." So that's all it takes to make Baylor happy.
Hey
if you
man,
just
that
did
sounds great. Actually, I think that might be all it takes to make me happy. I've never even done that before.
Yeah. Well, now you will.
I had
Go
the
back
same
on it.
experience at that
Yeah,
house.
It's crazy, man. It's
I had
like-
never seen it before, and
I
he
was
handed it to me, and I was like, "Wow!"
Yeah. I was so
That's
hungry, I
cool.
probably would have eaten anything. But.
Yeah, I'm totally, like absolutely gonna do this.
But
So-
to answer your question, I would love to direct more, but that requires people asking me to do it. So at the end of the day, I have an agent, and it's their job to get me auditions. So if I book an acting job, I'm going to do it. But what I just did, I think, is 10 years down the road, I think it's what I want to be doing 80% of my life.
It sounds awesome, man. It sounds like everybody had such a good experience, and it's kind of get me pumped up because it's like everybody's like, oh yeah, I want to do this, and you know, I found my calling. It's like, man, that's to me, that's kind of why we started this podcast. We've talked about it a lot. We had personal trainers on, bands, dudes that go into, you know, like I said, work at a college for athletics, and just to hear them talk, it energizes me personally. So it's amazing to hear all your own stories. So without further ado, tell us about your movie.
Well, what do you want to know?
I want to know
Who
are you? Your name.
Okay.
Uh,
I'm Jay Thomas. I grew up in Winchester. I went to school with David and Parker and a guy named Israel Calvert.
yeah.
And this movie was intended to be kind of a tribute to him. When he passed away, I was living in New York, and I took it really hard. And for several years, I didn't really know what to do, how to cope, and I had to grieve properly. I wasn't in Kentucky. I didn't have a lot of opportunity to see his family or talk to anybody that knew him a lot. And so I started writing, and 3 or 4 or 5 years later, it kind of turned into like a 20-page short film. And then somehow I convinced a group of 25 people to get together over 4 days and make a 20-page script a reality. And I still don't know how I did it. Honestly, it feels like it's a dream right now still.
Yeah, well, I think that a lot of times when you put that type of, you know, dream or goal out in the universe, it always kind of bounces back and it all comes to pass as exactly how you exactly how you saw it, even though you didn't necessarily know how you got there. It always comes to pass that way. So, how long have you been writing?
Well, I started writing in college, but it was mostly just for myself. I mean, I don't have any like published work or anything like that. I think writing was just a way for me to kind of digest a lot of emotions that were happening. New York City's a hard place, so
Right.
you know, there's a lot of emotions on a day-to-day basis that you kind of experience. And I think after having tried acting for so long and getting frustrated with the city and the way my life was, I wanted to take control back, and part of that was writing. And so this is the first thing that I've done that's been produced fully.
It's amazing. And so you went to Western, is that right?
Yeah, I did. Western
Okay.
Kentucky.
And you went for acting?
Yeah, well, I originally went for broadcast journalism. My dream job was to be a sports center anchor.
Okay, so that's...
No way.
Did you go to college with Eric as well then?
Eric.
Matthews.
Yeah, yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, because that's what he went there for as well,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he ended up doing he did several radio spots in Bowling Green as well as Nashville, so it's pretty cool that it, you know, kind of changed direction. So what made that decision? Like, how did that change?
I mean, I always tell the story that I was my major was broadcast journalism, and it was like the first few weeks of school. And another guy that we went to high school with, James Estes, his uncle used to be the department head of the theater program. And when we were in high school, I did plays, and he would come see shows, and he would talk to us afterwards, and yada, yada, yada. So I knew him, and so I tried to go say hi and be like, hey, I go to school here now, you know,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And I come to find out that he's on sabbatical. He's not even the department head anymore.
Gosh.
He's not there. He doesn't have an office anymore. And I'm just like milling around the department building, and there was an audition for Imaginators, which was like a children's show. And I was like, okay, I'll just stick around and audition for it. And I got the
So
lead
creepy.
role in it, and so then I was in the building for months after that in rehearsals, and that kind of snowballed over the course of a year. And I had a great professor who just looked at me and said, "Are you stupid? Why aren't you doing this?"
Right.
And I was like, okay, I guess that's all it takes. So I changed majors, and I still have a broadcast journalism minor, and I got a double major in directing as well. So I had a lot of experience in college.
So, moving to New York from Winchester is obviously a big step in life. Have you been doing plays up there as well, or TV shows, movies? What have you?
Yeah, I think for my first 4 years, I did a play like every month of those 4 years. I was like trying to be in production of something, and then I ran out of money because in New York there's a lot of free theater and you do things for free because you just want the experience.
Great exposure though.
Yeah, wonderful exposure in the basement of some church like off like 34th Street. Like no one knows you're even there.
You quit your day job for because you
Right.
can't get the time off.
Yeah.
Rehearse
Yeah.
after you have.
You're like, I have a story to
entirely
tell.
new
People
job.
need to hear this.
Theater in New York City is not glamorous, just so we're clear.
There's like Broadway, there's like off Broadway, and then there's off
everyone
Broadway,
else.
and off Broadway, and and it just gets less and less and less and less.
I'm deducing that from your all stories that it's not glamorous.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Tana and I actually met because she produced a show that I was in, and that was like, you find these shows and you keep looking for them that are like gems that you want to be a part of because it's in you, you can make something really beautiful, and we made a beautiful production together of a play called Easy Laughter, which is written by Robert Shearman, which is, he's a writer for Doctor Who, and it was kind of this like weird world, and it was one of the most incredible experiences I've ever had. And so I knew when I was doing this, I wanted people like that around me.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, you definitely have to keep the people that are like-minded around you.
Yeah.
We found that out with the podcast, isn't that right, Dave?
Sure. Yeah.
But I guess to finish your question, I like kind of ran out of money at some point, so I
Yeah.
started working in a restaurant, making more money, and I transitioned into. I got an agent, luckily enough, and I transitioned into film and television, and it was a much slower pace when you're focusing on that. You're going to auditions, you don't hear back, yada yada, and I booked a feature film that was produced by NBC Universal. It was like a remake of a Francis Ford Coppola horror film, and I was like, this is my break. And then like you finish something like that, and then you don't get work for 6 months, and you're like, oh, I guess this was just
Not
part of the
right.
journey.
My break.
Yeah.
Is that how you envisioned it whenever you changed majors, became an actor? Is that how you saw it going? Like, you hear both sides of it. You hear the stories about people working in a restaurant and, scratching a living and then trying to go out for auditions and stuff like that. And then you hear people that just kind of stumble into
Right.
stardom. So I just wonder what your expectations were going into that.
I mean, I think if anyone would be lying to you if they said they don't like sit in bed at night and dream of themselves as being like in major motion pictures
Right.
as like the goal, because of course any actor wants to be acting at the highest level.
Right.
The real world is much crueler than that. Yeah. But I think what really helped me is that in college, when I decided to change majors, I had to start considering myself an artist, and I have never done that. I don't draw. I never wrote in high school. Acting to me was just like me being on a stage and like being like loud, like I don't know. It was easy, and when I made that decision, I made the decision to pursue it no matter what, because I wanted to create art, the storytelling, and so that became the most important aspect.
Did you feel like a change of gears? Because I feel like that's what you have to do to be successful in anything. You have to completely throw yourself into it. I know, to use what I know, sports, I was pretty talented in a lot of things, but I never threw myself into it and ended up making out of nowhere to do it. So I would say it'd be the same with acting or directing or costume design or.
And every day
acting.
it's a new challenge, right? I'm sure you're, like if you make a decision to do something, you still have to make that decision again the next day.
Yes. Yeah.
And like that's what I start to focus on, is that the battle becomes less than like one major goal that you're going for. It's like every day, if I can wake up and do 3
It's a
things.
battle of consistency and nutrition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And eventually, I'll get to where I need to be, and that's exactly what this was. Producing this took me 6 months of pre-production of getting everything together, but every day I would try and do 3 things for the film to make sure that things were going to be checked off, that people were going to be together.
So, to talk a little bit more about the film, you said that Izzy's life story kind of inspired this. But tell us a little bit more about that, because I'd say a lot of people won't know, without giving away too much of the movie.
Well, so everything that happens in the film is fictional, but it was inspired by Izzy's relationship with his younger sister, and her name is Hope. And I had really cool interactions with her because Hope thought I looked like Zac Efron.
I can see that now.
And so she loved Zac Efron. And so anytime I would be over at the house, she would ask me, like, I know you're rolling your eyes over there. And I'm like, okay.
Hope totally thought that. I don't think that. I don't know what she's
Especially
talking
when
about.
I took my shirt off. It was just like Zac Efron.
I was doing choreography to High School Musical, but it's
Straight out of Baywatch.
Anything else, Jay? Before I wrap up the podcast.
This is the start of something new. It's so right to be here with you. Okay.
Are you Vanessa Hudgens?
I'm not really sure how y'all kept it straight on set with him.
We
because
didn't.
he
We
just-
didn't.
we did not at all.
Is that a gay joke?
Oh, wait, are you gay?
That's exactly what I was talking about. you keep
No,
you
the
keep,
two of us were trouble.
Yeah, it was bad.
keep drawing my eye by doing things.
I
and
know,
laugh
he
and-
does that. We drove down 12 hours in a car together.
Oh,
It
my
was a
Lord.
blast.
That's probably a good thing though, right? Because
Taylor's
you need a
gone.
little bit of breakup.
No, that's so true though.
Pardon.
Get a paper towel.
We've had our first fatality.
Good thing there's so many of us here to keep it going.
I never
I know.
made someone have
20
water come out of
20
their nose.
podcasts without an incident. We're back to zero.
Change the sign. Erase the...
There you go. Try not to choke to death. The insurance around this place isn't that great.
Put on his leg.
I'm taking the photo of this. James.
Okay, where
So
were we?
anyway, Mr. Efron.
Oh yeah, so that relationship was. You guys are gonna make me laugh so much. Was
You
was
brought
important
us.
because she became the kind of the focal point. I was writing the scripts, and it felt like the entry point for a brother taking care of his sister, and his story felt like really static. It didn't feel dynamic enough to tell, because it felt like it was just like the same story over and over and over again. So I had some good guidance from someone close to me say that you should tell it from her perspective, that the story should be about Hope's struggle with her. In our script, she has a mild form of like Asperger's, and her struggle from day to day as her brother, who in the script, the brother's parents, the mother's passed away and the father's been incarcerated, and so he's taking care of her. And the movie takes place in the course of 24 hours. So you see from the moment she wakes up that she needs a schedule to keep things on track, and how that schedule gets off kilter different periods of the day, and how it affects her relationship with her brother, who's struggling to maintain her structure so that she can live.
Right.
And so all of that was kind of created and inspired by Izzy's love for his actual sister, but nothing that happens in the script actually happened in real
Right.
life.
How difficult was it to portray somebody that has like Asperger's or mild form of autism?
We had a wonderful actress.
I wish she was
Sissy
here. She was
Sherry.
great.
Yeah, she was. Maybe you should take this, because you.
It's. I'm the kind of director that is very less is more. I don't like a lot of big emotions. I don't like a lot of big moments. I don't like a lot of big physical actions. I want real. I like real life, because that's what's interesting to me. And so some actors get frustrated working with me because I'm like, that's great that you feel all that. Can you stop showing it to me? Because that's not the way people talk in real life. And so dealing with a disability is tricky, because there's always going to be critics. There's going to be people that sit in an audience and go, well, I have a cousin that is on the spectrum and that's not the way they act.
Yeah, I mean, I have a nephew that has autism, so.
Yep.
But I mean, I feel like the way that you said you kind of paced the movie and based it around the schedule. I mean, that's basically the life of somebody that deals with somebody that has autism.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if you remember Lee Noble, but he's still one of my best friends. He comes over all the time. He's like, okay, 7:45 we're gonna eat. At 9 o'clock we're gonna watch a movie. At 10:30 we're going to bed. I mean, that's how everything is. Like, he plans it around certain events of the day. So I mean, I feel like that's pretty accurate the way that y'all attempted to portray that.
Well, and for me, it was actually for me a wonderful device. I have a thing with eye contact. As a director, I like to minimize it so that when it happens, it means more. And so with an actress like Sissy, she was so amazing at taking notes. She would make the most subtle changes that just blew the scenes wide open. And what ended up being cool for me was finding the moments for her. Because when you're on the spectrum, eye contact is difficult. The connection is difficult. And so finding the moments where she would give someone something. It ended up making the whole thing happen. It ended up making the relationships of her with her brother or her with Tana's character, it ended up making those relationships sing because it allowed them to grow in that manner. The more connected she got to somebody, we got to see it physically manifest itself, because in the beginning she's not even looking at you. But then if she decides to let you in, she will.
Yes.
And so it
That's
was
really
really
true
fun.
to life too.
Yeah, and I didn't, I played around with the idea of, could there be a tic maybe, or a physical manifestation of the disorder? Could it be something with her fingers where she rubs them together, or blinks, or opens her mouth, because I've seen those tics all over the spectrum.
Right.
And at the end of the day, I just, for consistency's sake, I went with the decision to not do those and allowed connectivity to be the only indicator of that.
Right.
And it actually read better than I thought it would.
I mean, I'll mess with my nephew all the time, and I'll say something to him, and I'll act like I'm not looking at him. I'll turn around, and he's looking and making eye contact with me, and you have those moments with somebody that's on the spectrum, as you said. So, I think that's amazing that you all made it so true to life in that aspect. So,
Well, and Baylor's son too.
yeah,
And that was, I didn't know that when we went and we were scouting the location. And when he told me, I was just like, things like that have been happening since we started producing this. Like, they just fit into place, and you didn't even expect them to fit there. And I don't know, it was just made it feel like this was supposed to happen.
like I said, you put all that energy out there, and it sometimes it does come back. It doesn't all the time, but every now and then everything just clicks into place, and I really hope that it transitions to the screen exactly the way that you all wanted it to. So, so you played the brother?
Yeah.
Okay. How was that? Was that an emotional roller coaster, since it's a story that's so close to your heart?
Yeah, it definitely was. Certain times during the day, I would have to check out. If I got a little too close to Matt. The character's name is Matt, who was, in real life was Izzy. I didn't try and make myself Izzy. I think the script kind of calls for a guy who's under a lot of stress because he has to take care of his sister, and he doesn't have his own life, and his struggle. James will say that he's driving every scene because he's the one that has to get her to a place of safety and make sure that everything's okay. And that was mimicking real life, because as a producer, my brain was 1,000 different places because I was making sure the food was on time, or I was checking on this, I was making sure we had this, I was like, connecting my aunts with everyone, I was troubleshooting, I was like, in my head, I was probably doing more than I needed to do. But
How much caffeine did you drink?
yeah, we were powered by Ale8. This should be a plug for Ale8. They donated 5 cases.
Oh, that's awesome.
Of Ale8 for our production,
That's
and
amazing.
we had Ale8 the entire 4 days for everyone on set.
Did you all enjoy it?
I have a 6-pack of L8 in the car.
Chris
Taking
loves
it back to New York.
You don't like it?
Oh, I like it. Yeah, of course. But Chris
wrong with
loves
L8?
it.
It fueled me. It really was like just like that life fuel.
You can almost see the factory from, if you go upstairs, you can see the factory from
Really?
L8 and Grip.
Well, we're going to Waffle House after
Yeah,
this,
Grip
and
O's
it's
in
right
there.
across
Waffle
the street.
House.
There should be a plug for Waffle House.
You know, I just saw something on Winchester Sun today that the
They're
Waffle House
closing
is
down.
closing because they're remodeling. So I don't
They're
know.
yeah,
If
they'll
it's,
open back up.
I don't know if it's still open.
Are they open
It's
now?
like next week.
Guys, this
Yeah,
is
they're open
important.
now.
Guys, I have to go. I can't.
This was
You gotta
my
scout
first. Some of
Waffle
us made
Houses.
like our first Waffle House. We don't have Waffle Houses up north as much, so I had never been to a Waffle
Where are you all
House. before.
staying right now?
Tonight we're staying out in Lancaster at my aunt's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's plenty of Waffle Houses between here and Lancaster, so you guys should.
We're going to the closest one.
Well, it's not. It's
Together.
open, right?
It's still open. Yeah, until like next week. It's
Okay.
newspapers.
All right, perfect. David Barry build you all out. So, in hearing the seriousness and everything behind the movie, you said that you provide comic relief. Like, how important do you think that is in a film like this? You know,
I mean,
to take a little bit of stress off the audience.
In any film, and comic relief, I think, is a very specific term, and I don't know necessarily that's exactly what this guy is. He certainly is a bit of a lighter presence, and it's so important when you're dealing with a dramatic story and something important, because even in our own lives when everything feels very heavy, like you need moments of lightness to keep you going. And even as an audience member, you watch a film or a play or you read a book, whatever it is, and if it's all just doom, gloom, sadness without anything to bring hope into it, then it's not. Then you want to check out because it's just too much negative. Thank you.
You need that palate cleanser.
Comic
Exactly,
relief.
and so
Right.
something to you want the comic relief, and so I think that to bring that in at a time when it's unexpected, or with a character that you wouldn't expect, to have something come in to change the mood or the feel of a scene, or what's going on, or even to help a character who's going through so much negativity or so much sadness, to have something bring that character out into a more light place is certainly important for any audience. And I mean, in stories that I'd like to watch and things I like to see, I mean, it's...
Is that the role that you find yourself in more often, or have you played a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I've played a little bit of both. A lot of it is, more comedic characters. I just finished a play that I worked on with our director, James, where I was not the comedic character, and it was it was a struggle to be not the guy, to make everything light and fluffy, which is a joy for me, but it's a great challenge to do something else. But every side of it, whether you are that sidekick, the comedic relief, the hero, the villain, I mean, it's all, every type of character is equally important in creating an interesting story to watch. And so, whichever we all get to play, I mean, I'm just happy to get to be playing something.
I'm going to piggyback on that with, the purpose of having a laugh. It's so much about finding moments. In reading the script, so much about watching a film is about expectation. You start out the movie and you're expecting one thing. And if you get something that fits but is a little different, it disarms you. And when you're disarmed, then you're vulnerable. And then when you're vulnerable, a dramatic moment can really hit you hard.
Very well said.
And so, a manager, written as is a simple role. Guy comes in, he performs a job, he's the lead's boss. The guy brings, his sister into work, it's this, that, and the other thing, and it's a complication of the day. It would be very easy for the manager to just be a normal dude. And I remember sitting there on the first day and thinking to myself, I got it. I mean, Chris looks fantastic in his goatee. I need him. He's got like the short sleeve red button down with the tie. Like, he just looked phenomenal. And I'm like, how am I going to get this guy to be specific? Because you can just walk in and be general with that part. And so I walked up to him that morning and I was like, he already did a take and it was great. And I went up and I was like, all right, Chris. I was like, this has been a day already. Like, this is like the 8th thing today that sucks. He was like, all right, I can work with that. And so he just brought this frustrated manager onto the set, and it was so funny. Like, you know, and it was that one little thing, but when you're given something specific to work with as an actor, it makes all the difference. And then you can bring a perspective that's going to make people laugh, and it's going to make people relate who can't relate with being frustrated with a day and sitting there and there's this kid in my restaurant who's throwing ketchup around, and you're like, I don't know what to do with that. You know? And so it's fun finding things in the moment that can disarm an audience. Because having a laugh in the restaurant is an appropriate place for a laugh.
Yes.
And so when you go through a script, whenever I go through a script and I'm about to direct, I try and mark those moments that, like, all right, maybe we can find something here, maybe we can find something here, maybe we can find something here, so that by the time we get here, people will have softened up enough to get hit real hard in the gut.
Yeah.
It's fun to play like that. So I just kind of
Definitely
wanted
part
to,
of the
like,
build, for sure.
jump on that.
Appreciate that.
Basically, that was the most important part of the movie.
That's
The
what he's saying.
linchpin. The linchpin, for sure.
And I'm just gonna tell you right now, if I watch that movie and that goatee doesn't play up to the expectations that
Brother.
I've built,
Oh, it won't.
Brother.
It,
It pops.
It does.
It pops.
It's good. You can thank Waffle House for that. The guy behind it, the guy walked in, and we're like,
Oh,
that's it.
that's it. Right there.
That's
That
there it
goatee.
is.
that's great.
Thank you.
So I want to hear from you. I want to hear, was it a challenge to, you know, coming from New York, and obviously there's probably different ways that people dress up there as opposed to down here. Did you try to bring that in your mindset?
I'm thinking about my note that I gave you about the girl.
I mean, kind of. I mean, also, like, for me as a costume designer, I always tend to, like, have, like, a little bit, like, of an edgier style, like, more of, like, a high fashion kind of edge to things. So, with, like, realism and stuff like that, sometimes it is tricky. Like, and I have to be real then sometimes of being like, the girls look a little too cool. Can we make them look a little bit, like, more hand-me-down or, you know, stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
I'll read a script, I'll go through, and then I'll kind of make, like, these, like, little mood boards for each character. Like, they live in this kind of a world, you know what I'm saying? So, like for Hope, it is, like, a little bit more, like, of, like, graphic tees and, like, jeans, like that. So, I mean, it just depends on each person, and then you kind of just, I mean, at least personally, I will go shopping from anywhere from, like, Goodwill to, like, a Kmart or a Target or whatever, and you just kind of, like, buy things to create, like, a wardrobe for them, and then you have fittings, and you kind of play around and see what's great for each moment.
Did you have to put a little bit of study into it, or did you just kind of let it flow?
A little bit of both. I mean, like, for pre-pro and stuff like that, I also did, like, obviously did a lot of research and stuff like that. But then, just like being at like Waffle House and like Walmart, I was like, oh, cool, people watching. This is great.
Yeah, that
You know
I
what I'm
never
saying?
thought of that. I understand where that would be so valuable to you because you know we're used to it. We see, you know, this on an everyday basis. But I would say that it'd probably be a little bit different.
Yeah.
Coming down here.
And like
kinda-
you, like your ideas, like, of like, oh, someone in Kentucky, like, what do they look like? You know, you'd probably be like, oh, they're wearing a flannel and they're wearing jeans, and you know, so you kind of have like an idea of like what the aesthetic
Thank
could
God I
be.
took my funnel off.
Mostly a lot of pajama pants.
Yeah.
that's all you got. Pants and camo.
If you go to
Exactly.
Walmart, yeah.
like my
If you go to Walmart, it's
Walmart's
Heading to
great.
Walmart after
Yoga
Waffle
pants.
Great
House.
research.
Oh.
Some returns to do.
Easy, man. Well, this will be out next week, so you're good to
Go
go.
in the clear.
Yeah, I just listening to you all talk, and you know, just so many things that you don't think about. You know, when you're watching a movie, I think it's going to give me a lot more appreciation for it because I never thought about, you know, people watching or, you know, trying to put something with one specific person. You know, I'm sure it's easy to put a tie and a button-up shirt on you, but you know, you have Hope, little girl. How do you dress her? I mean, my little girl's, you know, if my youngest one's wearing pants, and I'm doing good for the day. So, you know, it's a struggle for each individual, each parent. And I can see how, you know, each person has their own tastes and their own styles that you kind of have to fall in with.
And I mean, and fittings are great too, because like you have a fitting with like, I mean, Tana or Jay or Chris or whoever, and you kind of like you have an idea of this character, but they could have a completely different idea of what that character is, right? So like I'm like, oh, well, I think this character wears like jeans and a t-shirt, and they're like, well, I see them in a skirt. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you really have to just like be open to that idea of like what they're
So
wearing.
you would consider yourself open to that? Because I'd say that some people are rigid and they're like, no, this is what you're doing.
I mean, I'm not going to force someone to wear something that doesn't make sense for their character, because
Right.
then they're not going to excel as a performer, and I won't
Yeah, I was
what
gonna say
I
it
put
probably
on
helps
them
them
will
get in
look
character
good.
a little bit more if that's
Yeah.
their imagination. If they're sitting there and they're envisioning this person wearing this and carrying themselves this way and acting this way, to put on those clothes that they feel like is that person's obviously makes a
Exactly.
difference. You know, kind of like putting on a cop uniform to be a cop or whatever. You know, just in general. But it's very interesting. Very, like I said, I'm gonna take so much more from film and TV after listening to you guys because, you know, GRC plays is as far as I made it in life. So I've never made it.
Speaking of costumes, we made a little insert with GRC.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we got her wearing a little shirt.
Oh,
my
wore
old-
one of Jay's old high school T-shirts.
That's
a
very
pajama
cool.
shirt.
Did you dress in? Did you apply Izzy to your wardrobe?
Not so much.
He
I
wore
mean-
you had the same two T-shirts. He had a
Yeah.
yellow T-shirt and a white T-shirt.
Yeah, it's true. No, because my costume was actually, because I'm headed to work, was pretty. Other than the morning scene where I was just like in an A-tank and shorts, was the work wardrobe, and so that maintained through me throughout the whole day.
Gotcha.
So mine was actually pretty
basic and simple.
easy. Yeah, I mean, we took some jacket off, jacket on kind of thing. We did have some amazing work suspenders that Chris made.
Oh yeah.
If you ever
A
make
little
it
flare.
to Red Light Kitchen and Lounge, you'll see that their interior is very bright and vibrant, and there's art all over the
Eclectic,
walls. It's
pirate
very eclectic.
strippers.
Yeah, but he gave us these.
I'll fit right in there.
He gave us these suspenders with buttons on them, so it was very like TGI Fridays feel. It would just fit in perfectly with the whole ambiance of the restaurant.
It's the costume. I mean, just to talk about how great Chris is.
Please do.
I mean,
Speak
it
up.
sounds
Yeah, speak
like
clearly.
it's like, oh yeah, so you're going to work, so it's easy work costume. Oh, you're the manager, easy button down and a shirt. But it's so specific, the work. I mean, not just the clothes, but how the clothes fit. Are you someone that cares about how they fit, or have the details of what you would have on your thing, like what buttons this guy would have, or what pins this guy would wear, what would he carry with him? It's so detailed and so down to the last. We had an on-set fight about would someone have a pencil in their ear or not, and things. It's so specific, and things that you would never think would have that much thought put into them. It's really amazing to see how detailed, and from not just costume but lighting and set dressing and all these different departments. It's nothing is an accident. Everything is so thought out.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to see it all come together once we're there.
That's
on
so
the day.
different from theater too, because I had a conversation with Tana being like, do you wear earrings? Do you wear a necklace? Or do you what do you think Katie wears? And it's in theater you can get that specific, but you're oh, it's a 50 feet away stage, and there's so much happening that you'll never see if someone's wearing earrings, but in a movie it's so close, it's so visual. So it's those little details, bring that to the next level. It makes you feel like you can relate to that character, or you could be that character.
And as an actor, it helps. What you're wearing helps inform who you are so much. Being the manager, having how the clothes fit and feel inform how you walk, and that can inform how your posture is, and that can inform how you feel about everyone in the room. It's so amazing how outside in that transition can be changed. It's just
He looks terrible, basically.
I looked horrible.
He had this short sleeve red button down with 2 breast pockets, horrible tie.
and it was two
First of all,
sizes
who
too
wears
big.
a short sleeve button up?
Exactly. And
A restaurant manager.
correct.
Restaurant.
Exactly.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, you will.
You'll see it and you're like, I know that guy
Yeah,
actually.
You get a
It's
flex
so-
scene in there? I said, did you get a flex scene in there?
Oh no, that shirt was 2 sizes too big. You never know. It's so it's the attention to detail is so much more than someone would expect when you watch a movie, when you watch
Yeah,
TV, and
absolutely.
even people that do it, you try to watch and realize it, but the story gets you so encapsulated by it that you don't realize all of these little details that go into it, but you do catch subconsciously as
Yeah,
the
subtlety is the best thing, right? You don't want to make statements that are aggressive, right? You'd rather it be a subtle thing that if people notice it, it's great, and if they don't, it's still a movie about Kentucky. Do you know what I'm
Well,
saying?
I think informing people that this much work goes into it, that's why these things are cool, because now, anybody that watches this is going to click in their brain now. It's going to stick with them, and they're going to be paying attention to
They're
stuff.
gonna hate us.
Well, I feel like I'm a pretty attentive person, but I don't know if I've ever went to the lengths of thinking about a pin on their, suspenders, or thinking about a pencil on their ear. So, I feel like that anybody could take something from this?
Well, I'll tell you what's cool about film is what I learned as a director the first time I ever did it was that it's everyone's job to worry about their specific thing. So the fact that Chris is the costume designer means that he is in charge of everything costumes, and if he doesn't feel like it, doesn't have any input on camera, lighting, acting, anything of that nature. And as the director, I oversee everybody's point of view, but I'm not telling them what to do. They create their ideas and bring them to me, and I'm like, yeah, I like that, or what if this, or what if this? So what's cool is no one person can have that attention to detail over a script like this or a film. It can't happen. The film will be very bad if one person tries to be in charge of all of it. That's why you have these department heads, where you have one camera guy who is only focused on camera, and you have one costume guy who's only focused on costume, you have lighting, you have all these departments, and that's their focus. And this film set is this unbelievable structure where you have all these moving parts doing their own separate thing, and then on the take, everything just kind of comes together. And it's like, oh, as the director, I go, oh, now it's my turn. Everyone else has done their work, and now I have to make sure that this thing happens, you know? So it's a very cool process, but you're right. No one can pay attention to all those details. But it's on the costume designer to go, pencil, no pencil, because that's in his head, you know?
Right.
It's cool.
And I find the relationship with the actors and actresses about, you know, their input, you know, I always just assume it was like you went to a trailer, you know, here's your clothes, here's your makeup, get out.
I mean, there are people who do that.
That's like,
but it's not a good experience.
Yeah. Sounds like you're always much better to me. So
I mean, you also want to make everyone feel comfortable, right? Like if I made Tana feel uncomfortable in her fitting, we wouldn't have a good relationship. You know, it would be like that much harder on set to work with like me or her or whoever, you know? So it's like, if you can make everyone feel comfortable, it just makes for a better.
well, and you know, kind of, he was talking about doing a play with him, and you know, your all's relationship has led to the movie, and that's important, you know, in any business. You know, I would assume, especially, you know, being actor, director, producer, whatever it may be, you know, developing those relationships and be like, oh, that person was awesome to work with, you know. So I definitely want to continue that in the future.
That's the most important part, is creating this atmosphere of people that can collaborate. I mean, so I want to make a point that we are all going back to New York, some tonight, some tomorrow, but this is like the last contingency of people that are left. 80%, 90% of the film were Kentucky actors, Kentucky artists who live in the state. So our director of photography, all our G&E, everyone on camera and production was from Kentucky. We shot it with Nate Spicer, who lives in Louisville. Andrew Swanson was a co-producer. Kelsey Foran was our AD. I mean, they all live and work in this market. And that was the most important thing to me, was to create an atmosphere of people who had worked and collaborated together, and then add pieces in from my teams, people that I knew that were capable of collaborating. And that way we could make this an authentic film. There's no other place that this script could happen.
Right,
you know?
exactly.
Like, it's supposed to be in Kentucky.
Yeah.
I mean, people might look at it and be like, oh, that's, you know, Southwest Ohio, or that's, you know, East Indiana or Tennessee. And I'm like, yeah, this story happens in all those places.
Right.
But this is a Kentucky film, you know.
I think, you know, David and I watched Justified. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the
Yeah.
show, but you know,
Somebody watch that.
you'll see like palm trees in the background. You're like, seems like
Yeah.
Kentucky. You know, it's supposed to be in Harlan County. Anybody been to Harlan County? You know, there's no mistaking California for that. So I feel like that authentic taste to it is really going to make it pop, make it all come home. So. Obviously, I'm gonna have to twist your arm. So you played Katie in this. What was her role in the movie? Was it, you know, love interest or?
Yeah.
Okay, that was a pretty good guess. So you're the love interest. What was the experience like for you?
It was great. It was amazing. I mean, I just want to keep doing this all week. I'm really bummed it's over. It was, I mean, the coolest thing for me was the experience of being on a film set. Like I said, my background's in theater, and so I like kind of feel like I don't know what I'm doing at all, which is, it's great to kind of like put yourself out there and try stuff and see if it works, you know? And I think that especially as an actor, like you always should be challenging yourself and doing things that scare you. And
So what was representing a Kentucky lady like for you, coming from, you know, the northern states? What was the challenges for you?
I think.
Southern twang.
Well, yeah, a little bit, but
Waffle House helped that.
I haven't been to Waffle House.
Waffle House saved this film.
Yeah,
It should be a
right.
sponsor.
Kind of, yeah.
L8 Waffle House.
I would say that James always really encourages his actors to draw from their own experience and to not, I'm putting words in your mouth, but to not see the character as an other, you know, as somebody that you're playing, you have to transform yourself into, but just sort of putting yourself in their shoes and learning from their past experiences and letting that inform your decisions. So I would say it wasn't difficult playing this role. It didn't feel like a challenge because I was drawing a lot from my own experience.
It's awesome. So, explain that a little bit more, because I'm interested how you know, that kind of played into it, without giving up too much about the movie. What did you draw on to kind of put yourself in these shoes? Was it just past experiences with other people? Was it past experience with family?
Yeah, all of that. I mean, I think an overall feeling of frustration and failure of just not being able to succeed sort of over and over again, and fear of putting yourself out there, or like fear of connection are sort of big themes for her character. But I don't mean she isn't written. She's not that different from me. I mean, from anybody really.
Yeah, I think
very relatable character.
I think that's one of the things that has always struck me. You know, being in different places and being around different people. You know, people are pretty much the same. You know, from point A to point B. You know, there might be a different accent. The town might look a little bit different, but you have different personality styles. You know, different drives. Different life experiences. You know, a lot of things hit home with a lot of people across a wide array of audience that you might not necessarily expect to actually hit home. So,
in one of our first rehearsals, James asked me how I felt about kids, because half my scenes in this movie are with Hope. And I sort of made a joke about hating kids, and James was like, "I love it, great, yes." And so then that sort of worked its way and informed a lot of the scenes and a lot of the choices, you know, and so it became sort of about her character, like finding the special relationship with an individual, and that in itself became more special because you sort of worked part of, you know, my own initial feelings.
Was it an actual joke, or do you actually dislike kids?
I mean,
I mean, you're not gonna hurt my feelings.
Yeah, it's not even there. I mean, I don't hate them. I'm an only child, and you know, I always had friends who were older. I was homeschooled. I just am not totally comfortable around kids.
That sounds like it fits in perfectly to the story that you tried to portray. I mean, by having that, you know, kind of play into it, you know, putting yourself in those shoes, and it sounds like it's a lot easier for you to relate to that if that's kind of the relationship that you've had with kids in the back. Because I have 2 kids of my own, but I don't like kids. I don't like other.
You know, a lot of people say that.
I don't like other people's kids.
I like other people's kids.
I don't like other people's kids. Just get away from me. You know, I want to be by myself. So, you know, a lot of short movies have turned into big production movies. So
This one will be one of them.
yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking. Hearing your all's passion behind it, and hearing how much you enjoyed working, you know, with each other. That would be really cool if it turned into a big production. Of course, you're gonna have to do a lot more writing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. The way this kind of works is that you kind of have a short film, and there's a short film festival kind of circuit, people call, you know, there's festivals all over the world, all over the nation that you can kind of submit them to. And once we get it...
So you're going straight to Colin, is what you're
But yeah. Submit first, and we'll see if we should book our flight or not.
Yeah.
But through that process of getting kind of
Double
the
Axis
story
Podcast gets an invite too.
Yeah,
right?
of course. Yeah, first class all the way.
Hey, that's on film. Don't let them take the little SD card. We're gonna have this for our audience.
So, like, when you are working on this process, you should be prepared for the probability that someone's going to be like, this is a great story, would you do this again? Can we make it a feature? We would love to do that. And then, you know, I'm sitting there like, yeah, sure, I just need to churn out 60 more pages of script.
Block out my room. And
and figure it out. I mean, a lot of people already have that prepared. You know, they do a short and they already have like a full feature-length script like ready to go. I'm like working on feature-length scripts, but not in this same world. So it would be interesting to see if this is something that people want to see more of, or if this story kind of has a lifeline of 20 pages of 20 minutes. Because I think the structure of it right now is really, really beautiful. And if you make that structure elongated to kind of lengthen the script, you're going to lose the immediacy of changing everyone's perspective and just anticipating. You know, if you do it, you know, because the whole script's based on our schedule. You know,
Right.
it's like this has to happen, this has to happen, this has to happen. So if you do that over the course of the week, people are going to kind of understand the rhythm, and they're going to know that the cycle is 7 days, and they're going to be expecting something to
Yeah.
happen at the end.
Well, but you could also bring in other characters. There's so many stories about
Right,
this
there's so
area,
many
and
stories.
you know, there's so many stories like Izzy's, unfortunately, that are out there and that we're used to, and it almost becomes like a I don't want to say everyday occurrence, but I feel like that it's been, the edge isn't as sharp anymore because unfortunately we went through it with opioids and then heroin, and now I can't even remember what the other drug is called that's replacing heroin, but I mean, it just seems like it's a nonstop, you know,
Yeah.
array of things.
Back and forth.
We'll have to pause for a second.
It's no problem.
Here's some funny stories from. This is my grandmother who
Hi. Yeah.
she's
rules everything.
she's
That's right.
she's Kentucky born and bred. So
There we go.
yeah. So but I did want to hear like if y'all had any funny stories from the set, like anything crazy.
We have a few.
None.
We could talk about them. if
We didn't
want.
have any fun.
Well, I
Y'all
mean,
news.
like I said, it has to break
Y'all
off.
news.
So we could keep it PG for like another 2 minutes before my daughter apparently gets whatever she needs, but then you guys can let loose. But I'm sure that, like you said, a 12-hour stressful day is, you know, it brings a lot of compression, and that compression obviously has to be, you know, somehow released.
Well, it's great having James because he has this ability to kind of, and Chris too, they have this ability to disarm people, you know, in a way with humor and just like with their demeanor that is so conducive to when you're working with so many people, to keep it lighthearted, to keep it people productive, to keep people happy, you know, that and food. You need good people and good leadership to remind people that, you know, we're here to have fun, and you need good food.
It is no joke how important food is.
Yeah.
It's
It's true.
Jay's
so
family.
important.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
White House deliver, or you can't. They don't deliver, but you can actually do call-in orders.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so just for future reference, in case
It's
you're
good to
ever
know.
wondering
Write
why.
that down.
We had everything catered. My aunt and my mom did all the catering for this film, and it was phenomenal. It was
It was
incredible.
amazing.
So good.
Gained
And
so much weight this week.
You know, yeah.
So what was that like to try to
Gaining
get
weight.
some like southern home fried cooking? Was that a big difference, a big change from you all?
Yeah, I mean compared to like me cooking for myself, like yeah,
The takeaway down here, I think, for Chris and I was pimento cheese.
pimento cheese,
That's
guys.
interesting.
I like shoveled pimento cheese.
I'm
in
not
my
sure that
mouth
that's a
on daily.
comfort food around here. But
It was very comforting to
kinda
me.
Comfort food. The first day I had it with fried green tomatoes on top, which was, yeah, I remember that. That was really good.
Best
man.
memory.
A lot of
remember
pulled
that.
It was a
pork,
great
lot of
shoot
pulled
and all, but
chicken.
those fried green tomatoes were just
yeah, they're good.
off the charts.
That's definitely more of a comfort food from Kentucky. Yeah,
Mhm.
I never thought of pimento cheese. I guess I just thought it was like nationwide.
They didn't even know what
I
pimento cheese
still
was.
Didn't know
I
what
still
it
don't
was.
really know what it is either.
It's
Yeah.
just
it's not bad.
mayonnaise and cheddar cheese and peppers.
Oh, is that what it is? That
Yeah,
makes sense.
that's all
It
it
was
is,
delicious. I had no idea what it was. I was like, I
So
just like
good.
this. I don't know
It's
what it
pretty
is.
good.
So good.
I grew up with it at my
Chili.
grandmother's house, and I couldn't stand it, and I still to this day have that
Yeah.
memory. I think I like it now. Like I could eat it, but if it was on a plate, I would never order it at a
Yeah.
restaurant just because I have this like memory of my grandmother's house and the smell and the peppers, and I'm just like, I don't want that. That looks disgusting.
I'm with you, yeah.
So the set stories. Now it's a free atmosphere.
Safe here.
My grandma's not staring at you, so I want to hear.
Well, we had a
couple.
13-year-old on set, so we kind of had to keep it
Yeah,
PG regardless.
PG-13.
Yeah.
We did our best.
We tried.
Yeah.
We did always 16.
I don't know. Does anyone have a really good one? I'm trying to
James
think.
probably does.
I don't.
Did
Honestly,
Baylor do anything real scary?
Well, he wasn't around. We
Oh,
gave him a
okay.
hotel for 3 days.
Oh.
This
Yeah.
kid broke his arm in the hotel. Though.
I know. When he told me that, I was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." I feel like it
But
was
the
my
good thing,
fault.
Well,
the good
you
thing
see
is,
it
His
So,
kid broke
it
his
is
arm
your
this
fault.
weekend?
Yes, but I didn't tell you guys so you wouldn't feel bad. But his kid broke
He
his
told
arm.
me.
Sorry.
I didn't feel bad.
Whatever.
yeah, you don't feel bad because in about 2 years, Baylor's gonna own Holiday Inn now.
Yeah.
So the lawsuits are pending. So yeah, I wondered if Baylor would be around. So he's just such a character. It's one of those things that you can't really prepare anyone for Baylor.
Right.
So
No, we gave him a hotel, and he was gracious enough to allow us to just kind of have 25 people in that house and moving everything around, every nook and cranny.
Was that your all's
kinda-
first experience with a mobile home?
Not
It
mine.
wasn't. I mean, it wasn't really a mobile home.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
That's a rancher. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, I don't. It was actually it was perfect. It was perfect. It gave the feel that we needed it to give, but it was big enough to film in, and it was big enough to hold people. It was cramped for sure, but I'm, for my money, Baylor's the hero of this movie because he gave up his house.
yeah.
It's our hero location.
He's
Now-
gonna play this
Use it.
this part on loop.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that's all
As he
Baylor
should.
needs.
As he should. No, I'm so grateful to him. I have 2 kids. I wouldn't give my house up for 3 days.
He's a pretty good guy. Have you ever heard the Baylor? If I played, I would have been in the majors kind of stories. Has he ever told you those?
Yeah, not directly to me, but I've
So,
heard tell.
I'm sorry to bore you all, but this is a hometown story. But when we were like 18 years old, we had a hard time filling a whole baseball team. And so I begged him because he always, his dad played in the majors. It was a big deal to him. He was always talking about if I did this and I did that. I was like, come on, play then. Finally got him out to play. And I'll be darned if he didn't hit a home run. And so he talks about this for years because that was the only game he played. So he just like hit a home run, had a good game, and left and never came back. And so he talked about it for years and years and just threw it in my face and threw it in my face. And finally, the last time we were together, I put my hand on his shoulder and I said, Baylor, I paid the other pitcher off to let you hit a home run. And his ego's never been the same, but now that you all said that he's the hero of the movie, it's right back up.
Filled him back up.
Something similar happened.
I
with
will
Parker.
say that, like,
remember when we
it's-
invited Parker out to play with us? And
But he didn't do as well.
I remember he hit one ball like almost to the fence, and I was like, I didn't even know that was possible for you.
He's never touched the
Baylor's
baseball
career
since
batting
then.
average is hovering around 500.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's left on top.
Actually, I think
Great career numbers.
I
Never
think
lost.
something crazy happened with that game and it ended early, so he might actually be batting 1,000.
That was his only at bat.
Yeah. So I was like 2 for 2 or something like that. So he talked about it forever. It's like Baylor, come on, man. But if y'all knew Baylor and spent time around him, you'd understand it. So, you have any questions there, Dave? You've been behind the camera.
No, I don't have any questions.
So we've fulfilled them all. We've fulfilled David's questions. So, where can we find everybody individually on social media? And then I want to hear about the movie where we can find it. So,
Okay.
So, right.
I'll start. I am on the internet.
I am
Right?
the internet.
I am the- I'm on, you can find my Facebook page. It's Chris McFarland. That is my name. And I'm on Instagram, Twitter _ Chris McFarland. Come like my pages. Make me feel good about
You
myself.
got on lock, huh? Chris McFarland on lock.
That's my name.
Across it all.
It's not his real name though. We found out.
It's a stage name? Those exist?
Yes, it is. They do exist. They're real. They have to be. You're not allowed to have the same name as other people. It's like an actual union rule.
Oh.
And my name was taken, so I had to pick a new one, which is a weird thing to do as an adult.
So is your name Chris?
My name is Chris.
Okay.
Yes, I changed my last name.
I was going to say it's all been a pack of lies. It's all
Yeah,
coming down.
no, my name is Chris Smith in real life.
Well, you
and
shouldn't.
that's
You
just
shouldn't have
a-
done
I can't believe that was
boring thing.
taken.
And somehow someone else was already named Christopher Smith. So so I had to change it. But so it's my grandmother's maiden
My
name.
mind
It's
is
delightful.
literally
Do you have any
blown now that
future
this was
projects
taken.
lined up or anything?
Nothing now. I just finished a couple projects I'm really happy about. And now it's kind of I don't know what's next.
And you're
I'll
available.
go back. I'm available.
You need to be
everyone.
putting selfies out with that mustache. You're going to be getting
This mustache is
sweet
coming
rolls.
off in
Oh,
hours.
dude.
Come on, Chris
It's not-
I
McFarlane
think we
Tinder
need to keep it.
profile.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god, it's so good.
No, thank you.
And your manager shirt.
Which I did keep. I do have
You
it.
guys are starting
Like
to
you
think like
unbutton
now.
a few buttons, like show a little
Oh
chest
gosh,
hair.
this is the worst. But no, so I don't know what's next. I hope it doesn't involve any of these people. Kidding, I will work with all of them, I hope, for just ever now. It's so nice to do a project and like meet and find people that you're like, these are people I want to take with me.
I hope
These
it's
are
not
people I
like a
wanna keep
summer
working
camp vibe. We're like, oh, we're going to be best friends forever.
And then you
2
never
weeks,
see
you
him
never
again.
see him again.
That's usually what things are.
That's
with. Alright, so
From my
It's life.
experience.
That's okay.
I mean, that's like a reality.
It's true.
right? Like
You
you
always-
I mean, which is also kind of nice. Like you spend so much time with all these people, and then you kind of just have that moment. I think we
Yeah.
were talking about this last night.
You get so close, so
he's
fast.
low key. He's saying that he hates you all right now.
Basically.
So where you at in social media?
Um,
Not everywhere.
true.
Where is
First
it?
of all, I'm gonna plug the For Hope Instagram page. Everyone should follow it and keep up to date with us.
You have Facebook and
For Hope
Instagram?
Film.
For Hope Film,
Yes, at For
Instagram,
Hope
and
Film,
Facebook.
Instagram and Facebook. You can find me at Chris Hines Design. I have a website, Instagram. Don't bother with Facebook. I don't check it. That's it.
Honesty. It's important. You have any future projects coming up?
I have a few things that are cooking for the future, but we'll see what
Okay.
No
what
contracts
what I
signed yet.
choose. No
No.
contracts are signed yet.
A lot of NDAs right now. Can't talk.
You can find me at my website, which is tanasiwa.com.
No social media?
No.
Spell it so people know.
Yeah, I know, right? TANASIROIS.com.
Sweet. You have any future stuff lined up?
I do. I'm playing Nina in Stupid Effing Bird in July
Sweet.
in New York. And I have an ongoing gig with a feminist musical comedy group called Broad Comedy. So we
It's
tour
great.
all over America raising money. And we have an off-Broadway run in New York, so
Very
we're
cool.
always doing something ridiculous.
Sweet.
Yeah, check that out.
So what
it.
about you, Mr. 10 Plugs on IMDb?
No, man. I'm old and crusty, and I have nothing. I don't have a website or social media.
No social
You
media?
can find me at my house.
That's so
Everyone
free.
see all of that.
But no, I don't.
So contact your agent, in other words.
Yeah,
Yeah,
social media.
sure.
Yeah.
Sure. No, I don't know. I'm wary of all of it for some stupid reason. I just.
I don't know. Has anything been in the news about social media being weird?
Yeah, I know, right? But yeah, no, I'm just me. I hang out, do my thing.
You see, that's why he was so hard to find. I was like, you don't have any
It's like a
footprint.
ghost.
Yeah, I was like, are you even real?
You
I
had
was
to
like,
go to like the back of a bar, like Han Solo style.
That's right.
Someone
That's right.
leave and-
I'm
Come
looking
into the mafia
for-
front on 23rd Street.
for James P. Reese.
You can't trust people without social media.
I know. I guess you
They
can't.
don't have a soul. They don't have a Facebook.
Correct.
They don't exist. It has to be Facebook official to be real, right?
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't check Facebook, so.
I check notifications, but I'm not like on it.
You just have so many, you can't even keep up with them, right?
No.
All the fans. It's just too much of a hassle. He's like, no.
He's too big. He's big time with us right now.
It's tough for him to be here.
What about you?
So I have the same problem with as Chris McFarland. My name was taken, so I got three names: J. William Thomas. That's my acting name. That's my real name. I didn't change it, but I have three names.
He's not fake.
Mr. Three first names.
Three
over
first
here.
names. Three first names, three last names.
Serial
Yeah.
killer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty. I don't know. So I got a website, jwilliamthomas.com, but not J-A-Y. It's just the letter J. On Facebook, on Instagram is Jaybirdflies, three Z's.
Sure does.
And then please follow the For Hope Film. Facebook, Instagram. We'll be posting pictures and stills and like more information about when the film is going to be released and like where it's at and how that works.
I'm glad you brought that up. What platform are you trying to seek with that?
So when you do a short film, you have to keep it pretty private and not public so that it can be in the short films, and there are specific restrictions that say it can't be a public video for public consumption because they're basically judging it. So for a while it has to stay in this circuit of like private Vimeo links, you know, so that it can be available but not available. And then after you've done the circuit, you can release it to the public. You can choose to release it to the public. Like anyone can watch it like whenever they want, you know, not pay for it. But basically that's because if someone is like, oh, this is great, we want to buy it from you and put it on our platform, then it's not public somewhere else.
Gotcha.
Where people can, you know, get it for free. You know,
Right.
you're competing against your free
So,
product already.
Being smart.
Yeah, and it's just it's the proper way to do it. And then you can also on the website, the For Hope page is RifleCityProductions.com.
I hashtag everything Rifle City, so that's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
yeah. I made my production company Rifle City. It just seemed right, being from Winchester. So that's RifleCityProductions.com, and then it's got tabs that you can go to the page. You can see all our profiles, links to IMDb pages, and social media. Even if they say they didn't have it, it's on there. Even James P. Reese, he does have an Instagram. There's nothing on there, so when I tag him,
Two
it doesn't
pictures.
show.
Two
Two
pictures.
Two pics.
How fitting.
Is it just screenshots of IMDb?
Dave.
We've got some great production photos of him on set and some at Walmart with a pink Vespa. That'll make the round. That'll make the round.
So good.
What happened?
It's on my Instagram, and I'm pretty popular. So
People know about you.
people know.
You can't hide it anymore, man. It's
Yeah.
gonna blow up.
You shine too bright.
You might even have 3 or 4 pictures after this thing goes
Oh my
public.
gosh. I don't want to get crazy.
But what I'd love to do is I'd love to come back once we get the thing produced and maybe do a private viewing for friends and family in Winchester. Maybe do one in Lexington. You know, for the people that were part of the film that were here that can come and see
That'd be
it.
so cool.
Obviously, we want to do one in New York, just as like a private thing. Like that would be really nice. Yeah, and that's.
Don't let your ass write checks you can't cash, man.
Yeah.
You're putting all these premieres out. We're going to con. I mean, it's gonna be great.
Premiere, yeah, it's gonna be like in somebody's
Red
garage, with like their projector against the wall, and the person, you know,
You'd
popcorn
be
and
surprised.
lemonade.
I mean, we're a small town, but I think people pull together, and I think that if you talk to the right people, I mean, leads or anything would
Yeah.
be possible.
Yeah, I'd love to do something like that.
Even auditorium at one of the high schools. I mean,
Yeah.
I think there's lots of opportunities out there for you if you choose to do that. So that would be awesome, and we'll definitely share all of your pages as well. We'll take a photo after this, and we'll try to. I don't have that many followers, but I got 2,600 friends on Facebook, so
perfect.
a couple people. To
Yeah.
see it.
See this
I'm sure it's nothing like you, Big Timer.
Why am I the only one that's being attacked?
You told me. You said. What was the quote? A lot of people follow me, so that people know about you now. So
You did
I mean,
say that.
Did I say that?
Yeah,
Like
it's
literally like 90 seconds ago.
Really?
90 seconds ago, I might.
Like, oh, well, I have a lot of followers and everybody likes me.
Yeah,
so.
that's exactly what you said. He's
Not
better.
false.
Yeah, you don't use Facebook because you're too popular.
Yeah.
No, I don't use
Too many
Facebook 'cause I don't
notifications.
like the medium.
All right.
Anyways.
But I appreciate this. This has been awesome. I apologize for the interruption.
Oh no.
So, y'all were so cool about it. In a couple of years, when you're huge actors and directors and producers, you probably would have thrown the water at me and told me,
I know.
Dude, that's what I'm going to do now.
How dare you ruin this?
David is fuming. So, but we appreciate it. Definitely give us a follow as well. Double Axis Podcast. We'll stay up to date with your all's journey and share everything. And hopefully you can come back, and hopefully we get an invite for the premiere, because it'd be awesome to see your all's work come together and actually see it on the big screen.
Yeah,
So,
thank you for inviting us.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Thanks so much
thanks.
for having us.
Yeah.
This was fun.
it was awesome. So we appreciate everybody for watching, and we'll see you the next time.